Welcome everybody to Mud Flood Was Armageddon. I missed you. I hope that you missed me and RJ. We're going to have a quick hitter show today. It's just like a bunch of topics, but it is going to be focused on the Bible, the royal purple. We probably will get into the tornadoes. A 2% chance of tornadoes. Everything is just absolutely going out of control with the weather. Uh, RJ has said he sent me a video from Mexico about this where there was tennis ball size hail. So we're going to try to be looking at that. Uh, the I guess you can technically rhyme the word purple if you use usurpable, but that's technically not a word. They won't let you enter that in a poetry contest because unusurpable to them is not a word. So let's as I wait on Randy, I'll be able to go over some pictures. Pictures. Oh, there he is. Buenos dias, brother.
Good morning.
Soy free thoughts is kind of sorry to be late, but we had about a 5 minute conversation here, and the famous Randy from Wisconsin was telling that it's not only the CCP using weather technology. How many countries do you think, besides the United States, can you do HARP?
How many do I think?
Yeah.
Well, how many signed on to the Antarctic Treaty?
You think all 150 of those guys could afford it, or they just piggyback
Well,
off of a?
yeah, I don't know if anyone can pay their fair share, but I think they're all in on it, uh, the mix. So, yeah, they're all
Russia, Turkey,
China.
China, United
Yeah,
States,
it's
all the
fair.
mafia families are in on it together, man.
Well, that's what I think. It's an opinion, and you just heard it.
Right? I think that it's the same thing. Does it matter whether if God is using the bad people of this world to attack each other and they're caught trying to herd the weather? Something big is happening. That's all I know is that it's a mud flood was
And then
armor.
there's even more than, when trees are burning from the inside out. Yeah, there's a lot of strange, and including the weather, certain, earthquakes, volcanoes. Uh, yeah, it's a busy time.
So that's the royal purple. It's everywhere. These are some people wearing that's not black, that's purple. This is that we'll look at the colors, it's what they did to come at the colors with those little shellfish. I was watching this. This is a drum. It looks like a package, but it's folded drum. The mask looks like something I would carve, and studying this. This is a tribe right over the border in Ottawa, Canada, from the United States. I thought that their logo was interesting. Here on the Mother Earth, there were gifts given to the Anishinaabe to look after fire, water, earth, and wind. They all claim that. It's a bunch of baloney. You know what that is? That's a movie from the 1930s, and they're dancing to a Led Zeppelin thing. I wanted to look it up because it says plunge.
It
And,
doesn't look like you're square dancing.
no, they're tap dancing, and they're wearing. These are basically their physical education uniforms in the 1930s for a high school, or a college. I couldn't tell, but going back to the 50s, this was another thing. This was their drum kit. If you think back to what all Ringo added was a snare that he pulled a little bit closer and another cymbal. I think this was their entertainment. Everything's so brand new. How in the world would anybody ever search that? I don't even know how I got that to put in the Google search bar or the Microsoft search bar. But I did, and it says jump to. It's Mycenaean Greek, royal women, queen, princess, sovereignly domain, and it also just popped up and said Google, Wikipedia from these. It talks about its multinational corporation, technology company, what? I don't know. It's weird. I have this highlighted, so I should read it. The game consists of a square divided into 14 parts, and the aim was to create different shapes from the pieces. In Iran, puzzle locks were made as early as the 1600s. The Enlightenment era. Toys became more widespread. That's that enlightenment. That's how I like people to remember it. Medieval children were more fully integrated into the daily flux of making and consuming. They're calling them hunter gatherers, of getting along. They had no autonomy, separate statuses, privileges, special rights, or forms of social comportment that were entirely their own. Those poor medieval children did not have no toys for them, RJ. We'll see where that goes. By 1839, there was soap bubbles. Toys included hoops, toy wagons, kites, spinning wheels, puppets, mini board games added some, but no games up into the soap bubble. The new after. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, the kid there, is that supposed to be some sort of like naval uniform or?
Yes, he's showing the hoop. He has a hoop, and it's a very popular toy.
Like a hula hoop?
No, you just roll it with the stick on the ground.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Spoiler alert: his little sailor suit is a dress. It's a dress. He's wearing a dress. Boys were dressed like girls in the 1800s. If you didn't know that, we'll have to refresh our memories. Again, with the Alex Rider Operation Storm Breaker. I had to go back because it's free on YouTube. And I'm thinking, Lord, it's finals week. I've got these things going on, man. And he just won't take long. And it didn't. So there was this from the 35-minute, 26 seconds out, I took a series of pictures here from a PG-rated Disney movie. It says, I keep my special toys down here. There's a skull there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so this is just for people to die. What are they showing in the background? Because this whole scene was just him walking through a mall's Foot Locker shoe store for children. And this was in the back room. And that was the conversation. Follow me. I keep my special toys down here. So very dramatic. Andrea Chicken, thank you. This was a page over the intercom. Or Andrea Chicken, thank you. That's a response to this. Woman over the PA. Andrea Chicken to floor 3, please. And remember, this is just taking place here. We're still this is all within the 1 second. Here's the guy bringing the little boy in to the back room where they keep the toys. He keeps this show. I want to show you where I keep the special toys, Andrea Chicken. And this one is still that same thing, but there is the Andrea Chicken. We're still within 2 seconds now, so it could be 1.1. We don't know. Gigantic phone. Is that Merry Christmas?
So what year is this flick?
I don't know. 10
Okay.
years ago, 20 years ago.
Oh,
Something on the Nickelodeon, because this is the very famous English actor that wins all the awards. So remember, this is all just flashing by in 2 or 3 seconds. And I thought I would, hey, did I miss one? So that's Be My Valentine. Whatever these are, Disney being, subliminally advertised.
so that's actually a big phone. That's not a perspective where the camera's so
Exactly.
close.
Yes. It's a 2 or 3 foot phone prop.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Christmas tree, Valentine hearts. I think I saw some Halloween stuff. And so we're still at 35-33. It rather pleases me to say there's a shark. It looks like he's biting his butt. Hearts, they're keeping a gold star track on something over there. No explanation of who these other people are, but this is the store in the background that they work for at the mall. He's doing something, I don't know what. Billy Goat Gruff is there. This was supposed to be a famous movie. And here's what you tell a child when you get him back with the toys in who wants to give a child, even though he's claiming like he's a genetic mutant in high school that is everyone in his family are super spies. And so that's why he can be trusted with a pen that has sodium pentothal. That's a truth syrup. I just think that it's weird. It's saying touched, said touched over here. I don't think it's being toys. I feel like I'm wasting all your time. I remember reading this as a kid. Glad I could be a kid again. So the name of the movie wasn't that weird? That's that background. It rather pleases me to say it's all within these few seconds, more weirdness. So this is a famous actor. This is a famous dead actor. I think he died, but I'm not sure.
So that's the movie Operation Stormbreaker.
Yeah, Stormbreaker caught my attention. I keep my special toys down here where children aren't allowed. They got this language written on birch bark that is just, I can track these letters. I've been looking at these letters now. Shoot, man. I think that the 1,000 years ended and then boom, man, it was just like full blown deception because I think that even you can recognize a B, not you, RJ, but everybody. I'm wondering that A for anarchy. Has RJ been dropped off?
Something went wrong.
Okay, well you're back. Purdy did all the drumming on the Beatles albums. I wonder who Purdy is. But Ringo Starr can't play the drums. He can fake it. Oh, this is a 2006 Disney Channel movie. That's probably why they were showing all the Disney stuff. I think I'm almost finished with the pictures, everybody. But that was weird, right?
Different.
We'll be looking at this company, Arius, ocean-going vessel owned by Bill Gates to control the weather. I don't know where. I think that you and Soy Free Mind are living rent free in my brain because I was kind of coming to the same opinion. That it has something to do with at one time Bill Gates's institution gave his other institution $227 million to build a boat that's supposed to clean the air and scrub a dub dub. It this seems wrong. Life expectancies in the 1800s, the average life expectancy was 29 years. I just don't believe them. I don't believe that, maybe this was somewhat true, but oh yeah, this resveratrol. Did you send me this?
Well, I know
Oh,
I sent you that EV charging station where they engulfed in Italy.
mm-hmm.
It-
Okay, this one caught my own eye then because that it says it's the fleur de lis, a non-physiological fluorescent moiety, but has the declaration of the accelerant. Anyway, that looks so much like the fleur de lis, and I think they get that from our body. I was looking for substrate. Anyway, this will become obvious when we're looking at
This
the
is
color purple. Uh, how did this get out in deep water sediment? Because it's a body part of a titan, you dumbass. So, giant sequoia trees. 6 sequoia trees were planted, taken from seeds in California, planted in Michigan.
Michigan. Yeah.
So 3 of them made it. It's very interesting, that
In
they
one did quite
are.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, the tallest one right now in Michigan is 311 feet. That's up there, man. Got some more the black moors in Germany and in Asia. Just we can't forget about these guys are doing some hard work. It seems like there was a major cover up of the fact that for a lot of towns, the blacks were the royals and the whites were the slaves. And the Bible says one of the 4 worst things ever is if a slave gets put in power, they can just be very ornery, I guess. I got some pictures of downloads of Black Madonna yesterday. I was doing some on the ground training, RJ, or what do they call that? Boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to harp on the fact that, you know, this country used to be run by black people, and so did Germany. Surprise! There were Roman Catholics, a lot of them. Turkeys. Suckers! That's their own fault for being judged, because they would not be humbled, would they? Beat their chest. We're so proud to be Abraham's seed. How about those rocks? They could raise up Abraham's seed from, oh, but no, they want to be. Interruption. This is supposed to be Galileo that he discovered the moons of Jupiter. It's not even as strong as a 1990 cell phone, camera. Ridiculous. I think this is I didn't get to these pictures from the Griffith, the observatory, but it's them propping up the Greek gods. That was their version of everything. Oh, we got the huge wave anomaly, so we are at that point of those pictures are what they call redundant. So this is a window in Colorado's oldest church. This was the people, the House of the Window. So that's the name of the group that was founding the churches in 1906. This is where they preach from, the traditional elevated. Is this still an active church that's being used in a small town that I did the boots on the ground thing? It was fun and it didn't take long. So they imported this from somewhere in 1906 and said, "Hey, you're Roman Catholic, and who's in the middle?" And they all are well, Jesus has I'm showing my heart, Mary's showing her heart. What did they believe? Just like who could be the weirdest? This is one of their windows. Now, this is San Luis Gonzaga. You might have heard of Gonzaga and St. Louis. I'm thinking Detroit, Chicago, St. Louis. The French connection. Why is this guy holding? That's that same building or window that one giant was holding in the Moffat Tunnel. Kind of that Lord of the Rings thing I was going for in the show the other day. There he is again. No, actually, that's the same one. I got to remember I just did J. I did, I put him in a. So there's this Mary, and I was with a Hispanic tour guide of the area that told me his mom and his aunts, they still worship the Virgin Mary, and they're unashamed of it. You know, they worship her, and they. Uh, I guess they think that they're supposed to. So I did K. Here's a little history of Colorado, this town that's near us. Somebody made this in 2006 for their 100th anniversary. I couldn't see it. It was so high up on the thing. It's probably not that important. But these are all original. I'm not sure what this is. A window. Very important. If you could just bring this whole town to the middle of nowhere and get your kit church going, please pay attention. There's your chained heart. Is that right? A chain of thorns? That's the Sacred Heart of Jesus. There it is again. These are all original pictures from the oldest church in Colorado, and a Black Madonna was there, RJ.
What's
Something.
that supposed to represent on her cheek?
Somehow she suffered while he suffered. She suffered for your sins too. Because it was like a knife going through her heart. There's that two-fingered salute that they like. This was you can see it has been glossed over. They're covering up this window, maybe to protect it, but I thought I'd just take a picture of it anyway.
Protecting it from the elements.
Yes.
With
Or
either
vandals.
plexiglass or
Yeah, you'll see that there's one on each side. I only took a picture of this one just because you can
from
barely
the
see.
outside. Yeah.
Yeah, you can barely see through it. So. But, so there's one on each side. This is the oldest kit church from 1906. I don't know how, because I know that this is not the oldest church in Colorado, but they advertise it as the oldest church in Colorado. A Maria, the Immaculate Mary. And that, I mean, she was sinless too, according to them.
With the two-tone brick accented how it was. Assembled.
Also did some boots on the ground, drove through a small town. I mean, very small town, and saw a leaning tower of this. So I'm there, like, I tell my bodyguard driver to let's go look at it. We do. When I get out, I take this picture. It's a church in Antonito, Colorado. There's a
With a
little.
teepee without a cover over it.
So I believe that probably is somebody's version of an art project.
Yeah.
Alcohol and tobacco kills. That's what that sign said. And don't some people just drive their tires? They try to get too much money worth out of their tires, don't they, RJ? Do you have any comment on that?
Well, I don't know how inconvenienced they want to be, but it's when you're forced to do something.
Don't some people just seem to just
not
take
care.
things for granted too much? It's like this tire will work forever.
Well, yeah, they're going to compare that like the sandal isn't going to wear out. It might wear thin, but it won't wear through.
Right, it'll be fine. I'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. Why does everybody think just that hey, the Earth was flooded or something? This is Myron.
What I'd like to do is imagine them
Free
being,
use.
say, 2 or 3 geologists that had come up to this outcrop in the early 1950s and the discussion that ensued. Because I'll tell you what, this would present some challenges to them.
You see, I'm not appreciating the way people throw away like that way back in the 1950s. I mean, we were born in the 1950s. They make it seem like Fred Flintstone or something, It's the 50s.
Well, that's already been a while, but yeah.
They didn't, they couldn't figure it out then. They can't figure it out now.
And the geologists at the time would be looking at this and going, well, how did this get out in deep water sediments?
Yeah. Huh. They'd come up with an answer. Don't you worry about them. Isn't this weird? Not the name, Kichitakipi, but want to see something weird? That's just fresh water bubbling up from the ground continuously for as long as they can remember, RJ. They don't know why it's green, but those are salmon. And that bubbling mass there by the one log and the salmon in the middle.
So that's a submerged spring?
Yeah, it has never stopped bubbling up fresh water. There's fresh water out there, but you know what?
Where's this?
Canada. Oh, Canada. I clicked the wrong button. So there's 2 real spots. It's bubbling here. It's bubbling here. Just thought people would think like that is so cool.
You have any idea how far below the surface of the water that?
I know. Yeah, I know all about it. It's the Big Cold Spring in the Ojibwe. It's referred to as the Big Spring in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So you could get there in a day.
Well, less than that, yeah.
Measures 300 by 175, about 40 feet deep, with an emerald green bottom from fissures and underlying limestones. I'm thinking this, maybe it's in the eyeball Earth model of God's eye, that maybe it's just like a tear duct. So I don't know.
Have they calculated the output? How much fresh water per minute. Did any of that?
I might have the video pulled up and
It's
we'll see if
probably a
it,
pretty good,
yeah. I think that we have so much to cover though.
significant amount. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of those things of I hope they have their pens and pencils out, you know, and write it down and look it up later, but we got to move on. History records that the owner of the local five and dime store fell in love with the Black Hole Spring when he discovered it in the thick wilderness of the Upper Peninsula in the 1920s. So they have a raft. You can go out and visit it now. Slowly, the Frank Palms of the Palms Book Land Company said, you know what, this is so nice. I want the Michigan to have it. You can buy it from me for $10. And so, but it has to always be used as a park bearing the Palms Book State Park. And so it's just been going on since the 1920s. But the Native Americans, they'll make up anything, you know. And it always usually comes back to we're the true longest Native Americans ever and better than all the other ones. One legend is the area's young chieftain fell in love, said, prove it. He jumped in and died. And so it makes no sense. It's just stupid. That's a Bible study that we did the other day. Okay, here's that. It says plunge. And I was giving a lesson to an
With
aspiring young.
What sort of?
Yeah, so these are the local high schools. And this is their, I think it's from Iowa or Illinois. It just has their uniform on it. But also think, this was made in the 30s, this movie. The song was from 1975, just a fair use sample of all you have to do to dance is count to 4. And they dressed girls up and said, these are our new uniforms in the 1930s, because I think it was an over hypersexualized world, like those people in the time of Jezebel saying, you know, you're in the church, but you're living in Jezebel. Check it out. She's kicking herself in the head. At this point in this lecture, I would like to remind people, I don't have time and I don't want to risk any of the copyright strikes, but you remember the movie, the famous Jimmy Stewart movie, where he said, I just want to lasso the moon, Mary, and
That's a wonderful.
Zuzu gets a Clarence, you got your bell rung. Kind of sound a little like him, I know, but not that much. Anyway, the famous scene in the dancing high school when the gym floor separates and they fall into a pool. That was not the only pool. That was filmed in a real high school, because high schools in the 30s had gym floors that came back into Olympic-sized pools in places like Beverly Hills and some other places that we talk about. Any thoughts on that? Interesting.
Yeah, it's not like it's fake and can't be accomplished. No, throw enough money at a engineering project that's capable of those features or details. Yeah, and right here's the switch, and here's the key for the switch, and let's see what happens when you press this button or whatever.
It's funny, falling right in fall right in the pool there, and he goes like, "Oh, lasso the moon."
Yeah, I mean there are limitations, but that was within the realm of reality. Yeah.
Now we have to understand trade guilds were a little bit like unions in the ancient Near East. You would go to your union club, your guild. Interesting facts about Thyatira that I found very, very intriguing. It wasn't a very beautiful cultured city with a lot of prominent temples like we saw at Pergamum. It was a military location, and it was famous for its trade guilds. Now, we have to understand trade guilds were a little bit like unions in the ancient Near East. You would go to your union club, your guild's club, and you would have a particular god that represented your guild, and you would sacrifice to them. But they were very, very important in the ancient world, and two of the most...
It's like, wait a minute, what? You join the local trade guild and it's like, oh, we sacrifice to this god. This is from the Bible. These people in Thyatira, it was women. The Bible mentions Lydia, and I just don't want to hear that the Bible held back women when it's obvious that in these trade guilds and everything else from the Bible and the inscriptions that some will go over is that obviously women weren't being held back and hated at this time period as the Enlightenment would have them believe. Any comment before I hit play?
Well, I'd say, yeah, particularly if they had a gift of a trade, or, because this is probably because it's military in what he just mentioned, that has a lot to do oftentimes with logistics.
I believe that this name Hephaestus is familiar to some people through that. She's the first math god from Carl Sagan's Cosmos. He had to introduce her because it was just like she was the true smart one.
Most famous, perhaps, is the trade guild of purple dyers. There's a lot of different kinds of guilds, but the textile industry seemed to be the one that was focused on at Thyatira. We know this because of the inscriptions. We have many inscriptions talking about the Dyers Guild, the Linen Weavers Guild, the Wool Workers Guild. We also have leather work, the Tanners, Leather Cutters, and Shoemakers Guild. So
all of these people are mentioned in the Bible. Where was the Apostle Peter staying when he had a vision of the sheep being lowered? He was at Simon the Tanner's, wasn't he? I mean, I spit these out. I think I got that right.
I believe you're correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Usually,
yeah, they had the same.
But sometimes
name.
I say the wrong name. You know that. I said the wrong name the other day when I was talking about King Saul and King Samuel.
Well,
Hannah. I got the wrong Hannah.
became very expensive. So this kind of dye, specific kind of shell, and there's various different colors that comes from the different shells. It became very expensive. So everybody that would dye their robes and their cloth purple, it became very expensive. That's why Lydia, the seller of purple, was likely a very wealthy lady, and she went to Philippi and did her sales there. Whether she actually did the dyeing or whether she just sold the cloth, we're not sure. Apollo Trimanius was the patron god of the guild, and it was celebrated with feasts.
And Apollo seemed like such a common name. Where would you rather shop? I can only afford one of these places.
The city of Thyatira also had a significant religious community, like all cities in the ancient world. They had many different gods, and we see this from the numismatics or the coins. Apollo, Trimanius, Artemis, Dionysius, coins from all of
these
those
are all
different
people
gods.
from the Bible. Was the Bible what they're passing off as the Middle Ages, RJ? The medieval? What the hell is going on?
Yeah, be advised where you receive your information.
Here's my language. Go ahead, man. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Isn't this crazy? This Sybil, this mommy worship, the Mother Earth stuff, it's all crap. I don't care how many pretty
But it's not new.
Native American women bat their eyes at you and go like, I can see colors. I'm an empath and we're the oldest people. Oh, let's have sex. That's what they're selling.
Ship to Thyatira. Sybil.
Because they Thyatira in Revelation 3:28 was going like, we love Jezebel too. Some of them did. I'm not sure if it was verse 28.
Was another one that was very.
Oh, to look up a proverb.
Yeah, Proverbs 31. Yeah, it's like, you, Paco, say you want women to wear head coverings. It's like, yeah. Well, then you let them be deacons. And like, so what? What does one thing have to do with the other? There's women deacons in the Bible. It's not like they're taking over the world or something. Come on.
The population was mostly Greek. It's somewhat ambiguous whether there was any evidence of Jewish community. It was a military community, so most of them were Romans and Greeks. We have an absence of references to Jewish elements in the message in Revelation for Thyatira as well. So a fairly small center.
So whatever that thing is going on in Acts, the Jewish presence in this city was minimal, but it probably they coppersmiths, goldsmiths. That's usually what the Bible says they were working at. Who's this guy?
With coins and what they represented in that culture. So would you suggest that coins in the ancient world were a way of media? Like, this is what our city is about. This is what's in our city. Come visit us.
Yes.
We have trade. So when we look at these ancient coins, which we will display, it's more than just like we have today, 25 cents, 50 cents, a penny. It's actually a way of advertising the city.
Yes.
Let's just look at some of these things here. In the Old Testament, God instructs Moses to have Israelites bring him an offering, including cloth of blue and purple and scarlet, to be used in the curtains of the tabernacle and the garments of the priest. The terms used for purple in the 4th century Latin Vulgate. Who cares? But they do. This Tatarian purple. I can't keep everybody here all night, but you got to look this stuff up, people. I mean, even just plain purple, RGB color.
Right.
Yeah, did you see that they crushed it up on those little seashell things, to get their mucus, and it's so expensive, but some of these pictures and history shows that
it's worth the effort.
They came up with it. They liked it, and they were going to get it. Oh my goodness! Just like that's like something from today. Like get your nude people running around acting like it's normal. There it is. That's the one. I think I got that screenshot from, or they used in the video. Huh. I guess that's very expensive. Wow. So when they find these old robes and stuff, not only do they have these colors that get brighter as time goes on and don't fade, the warp and the woof, the way they sew them, is usually something that's more labor intense than the United States or most countries would be willing to pay for that cloth today. Examples. Gonna fly now.
You'd think they just use beet juice or something.
That only is good for not freezing your tires. I'm kidding. You guys have a whole new example of Thomas Gainsborough's The Blue Boy, where he dressed him up in the 1700s, and it's they made it famous because it's just painting of a guy wearing a blue suit, right? But they made a big deal out of Gainsborough. That's not really purple, is it? The Princess of Brazil. Boy, Brazil, that video you sent me where 800,000 people got their electricity turned off at one time because of the biggest storm in the history?
Yeah, there's some serious flooding happening.
Look at Gustav Klimt she's a Jezebel with a purple hat. Famous artist, of course, found all her stuff after she died. And oh, isn't she a genius? Oh, and she liked girls. Who doesn't? uh, roll in, roll in, roll in. So there's this something that's, I don't know, Balicius. It's on the list of things. Remember this, I did this show yesterday morning and was going to do it last night and didn't get to it. So I don't remember what it is anyway, but oh, that's where I got that word that meant Google. Remember the picture we looked at? It said Google and it had some other weird stuff? Because I was like, here's the etymology of this word. It was uncertain. And they showed this and they're like, well, I tried to do this one and it didn't give me anything. Oh, it gave me itself. So look up that word because when they have these inscriptions on I recognize these letters and I know it when the English language adopted them, changed them, and started like with this A and this E, they would just push it together and make it, an aeon. These things are also trackable if people just want to take the time to do it. Instead of just watching more videos and stuff like that. And honestly, I don't know how to broach this subject, RJ, but
The impressions look fairly, crisp and clean.
I bet you, yeah, just as good as the coins they used tonight. Now, broaching the topic as gently as possible and realizing, that it is quite an insult from one man to another man to say, this is what kids say, like, you're a needle dick, you're a pencil dick. Now, all of these statues that show, like, the King David and he's uncircumcised. What's up with the very, very small penises that are on every single chat? That is like, it's like, I don't get it. But ladies and gentlemen, when you start to think about it, where's that coin thing? It's like,
well, if it'd be anatomically correct, you're saying it may be.
I'm just saying that I don't believe that. I mean, it's like, what's going on with the coins and stuff, man?
You have to speak to the artist. That
women's suffrage use like the purple lines of purples, colors. They're sending us messages. Can we hear them? I'm just saying that seems it's like there's no testicles on this dude. What the hell? Just please stop. I don't get it. There's something going on there.
go on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So so this looks like an Eisenhower same quality dime, the King of George the one from 1876. Everything's brand new. So Thyatira, their history in the Bible. I'm not finished looking that up. The purple, Romans love it. Of course, when they talk about their shellfish and everything else, and
don't be shellfish. What?
Shellfish. The most favorable season for taking those shellfish to make the color purple is after the rising of the dog star Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, Alpha Cana Majoris. What? The waxy secretion. We're going to be getting into that because the sweating, stretching, and eating organic is back on the menu of people. If you want to make yourself an antimicrobial scrub, if you're into anything to do with like, what's the best way to keep yourself from getting sick? Antibacterials during the 20th century have reduced mortality from bacterial infections. The antibiotic era began with the therapeutic application of sulfamide drugs from the 1936, followed by a quote unquote golden period of discovery from about 19. Everything's so recent that it's getting more and more like,
Mold spores. What?
I know. Well, these are the same things that live inside all of us too. I've got to keep going because we can't wear everybody out with.
Well, I did find my Proverbs. Well, whatever. You know,
What'd you find?
I found my the spot in Proverbs that I was looking
Okay,
for.
go for it.
It's actually two spots in the same chapter. Proverbs chapter 9, beginning at verse 13 to the end of that chapter. And I'll begin. Folly is like a woman who is lustful, ignorant, and shameless. She sits at the door of her house or on a seat in the upper parts of the city, calling to those who pass by, who are minding their own business. If you're untaught, turn in here. To those who don't have understanding, she says, stolen waters are sweet, and food eaten in secret is pleasant. He doesn't know the dead are there and that her guests are in the depths of hell. But then you go 3 verses prior to where I began at 13, beginning at verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. Verse 11, by me you live longer and add years to your life.
Technically, the highlighted portion of verse 17 should be translated bread eaten in secret is yummy, but I think that word is patented by the Yum stock group or something because yummy is just, it's not a word that translates easily, but yeah. What's
That
the
was
big deal
back.
about eating bread in secret? Why is it those breads from the worship of the Ishtar, the Virgin Mary, not the Virgin Mary, but their Ishtar version of that Immaculate Mary? The Bible warns about cakes and things like that because, I mean, I don't see too many people in our day, going
Oh
like,
yeah.
running into a closet and going like,
In
I'm going to eat.
Jeremiah, they were very proud of what they were
Oh,
doing when they went to Egypt and making
right.
their cakes to the queen.
Right. And
They-
then they were when the city was running out. So I got this thing from the Bill and Melinda Gates thing. I got to keep going on. Like they're supposed to have put out everything on open access, but it's just like, wow, so much to think about there. How'd I get here?
Well, I think I should probably head over and pick up that item that I was describing.
Okay.
And
All right. I'm going to be wrapping this up here. And thank you so much, RJ. Any final words you want to say? About what's going on?
No, I don't have to say anything. That you oftentimes, or I have
Right.
oftentimes heard. Be
No, I meant
careful what
about the
you pray
weather in the
for.
world, not about your errands, but about the weather in the world before we go. The politics, the sideshow that is their world.
Yeah, choose your words. Choose your words carefully. You may be forced to eat them at some later event. I don't know, but no, I just hope, wish everyone well
Yep.
in where
So
we are, and
And
Stay safe.
like, thank you, RJ, and everyone else. Stick around because we still got a lot to go over here. So I am going to just go ahead and pick it up and keep going. And so here was the Bill and Melinda Gates thing, and you can see they've blocked that out. When it's in red, they don't want you to know about this anymore or make it easy for you to search. But in this Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, these are their priorities, and this is in millions. And so, that's actually a billion, 3 billion, that. But this one was blocked out, and it was like right before it got more than the Clinton Foundation. That's Bill Clinton and whatever they got going on. And Johns Hopkins, okay, UNICEF, they got to skip out on that. This system is something that look at it, they put it next to the boat. There's your Arias Technologies, which there used to be a letter in our language for the A and E together. I'm sure they know it. It looks kind of weird, right? It's on a barge, electrical. It's a recognizing the challenge of port air quality and ship emissions. CARB, the California Air Resource Board, and other regulators have set improved standards for vessel emissions, and you can always hire Arias Technologies. It means, in Greek, it means air, and it's going to be designed to capture emissions. Now, I want you to imagine yourself as this ship, and you have emissions. They're going to have something that attaches to you, probably through your rectum, that collects your emissions because you are nothing but a polluter. Your carbon footprint in their world is killing them or making their life less advantageous. When they chose, or when they made the ink for the purple, it was after this star that bad religions make a big deal out of. There'd be no way of telling you how, the dog star and Sirius, how they Harry Potter books made that to where most people would know that. It was a mystery before, but there's always going to be this side of the Tartarian
place, old world.
Studying. How recent was it? We know these things, but they're interesting.
Style, because I've come across a few interesting articles and they brought up some good points in my opinion, looking into mosaics and a few other things. So let's get started now. The first Roman mosaic I want to look at is this one featured here at the top. And we're told that it's from the 3rd to 4th century. And it's associated with the Roman period. It's from Italy. Now, what's unusual about this particular Roman mosaic, in my view, is that there's 4 gentlemen here holding these ropes, because it appears...
It seems to be preposterous that elephant wouldn't just pull them right into the water or sink that boat, unless that's a very small elephant. I don't want to show all, we all know... They're busted. Their whole shtick is a
into certain
gimmick.
areas, there appears to be all these Lichtenberg figures, the evidence of electrical scarring, in my opinion. So I think that might have had a part to play in the extinction of this particular type of elephant. And there's even the mystery of Hannibal's elephants. We're told Hannibal took thousands of men, upwards of 40 elephants, and crossed the Alps. And I think it's speculated that an adult male African elephant eats up to 400 pounds of vegetation a day. So there's a mystery about how that was even possible, and even the origins of Hannibal's elephants. In truth, it may never be known for sure exactly where Hannibal's elephants actually came from, even. So, as with a lot of our history,
Which one do you think they would not want Hannibal to look like? I'm thinking this one here where my mouse is.
many questions, but getting back to some of these mosaics, there is another site, a Roman villa that was rediscovered once again in the late 1800s, and this one's in Sicily, and we are told that the artwork
Look at it, they're just showing there. That's not that's not Christian artwork because showing the butt. And for all we know, bikinis and what else do they want? So back to put the girls in the high school and college, run them around in bikinis and call it normal.
outfits, very similar to modern day bikinis, basically. And in modern times, although two-piece bathing suits were being used by women as early as the 1930s, the modern bikinis actually dated to July.
If you take out the 1,000-year reign of Christ, how long ago did these things end before they picked back up right where they left off? Or maybe what we just saw here is really the same thing as the girls here, just a different version of it. Probably not, but let's don't go crazy.
Disappeared from the historical record after the Romans until the early 20th century. Now, this image on the left is the actual first bikini to be worn.
Oh my
and
goodness,
this
this is just getting too
and I'm sure there'll be
PG-13.
corner here. It appears that there's a mosaic underneath this Roman mosaic, but we're told that the Roman girls in the bikinis, this mosaic is dated to the early 4th century AD, yet there's already something beneath it. So that makes me wonder if this is actually a reproduction. Because one point that I forgot to mention is that this site was seriously excavated in the 1950s and 60s. There were earlier excavations in the 20s, but serious excavations in the 50s and 60s. I think it was in the late 19th century. So just something of note, very interesting. So I think I'll leave the mosaics behind, but one more thing that may potentially be out of place is with regards
I haven't seen this, so I want to see it.
Now, just a brief bit of background. Magna Carta, originally, we're told it was issued in 1215, I think in June, by King John of England. And unfortunately, there's not too many copies that are left. Apparently, only 4 original copies of the Magna Carta survive. But when I looked into it a bit more, we're told that they were under pressure to produce copies, and at least 13 had been made by July of 1215, and perhaps another 30 were produced. But only 4 original copies remain. Now, the thing I find interesting about the Magna Carta and these copies is we're told that the original script coming from the Magna Carta, it was in Latin, but you find the use of the letter J. It starts out name.
Bang! Good kid. That's the way we get them, by taking their language and their written language that they say we're only here and there. Now you know.
And they used the J actually in the original Latin script that's on the document, or at least on the copies of the document. And as we know, the letter J wasn't really even introduced until the 15 and 16.
Right. And I know you don't want to hear things from me, but when you get it from other people, then you go like, well, maybe we should think about it.
Hundreds. Yet it's showing up on the Magna Carta on at least some of these copies from, we're told, the 1200s. So seemingly out of place. And I think there's not just this one little instance within the document. I think.
What else we got here? Tryptophan. We got to look at this, biosynthesis. These are different things that, Lord willing, we can get into. Like I said, I have one more test to take at 3:00 this afternoon Mountain Time. So And then, Lord willing, we'll just see what happens. But protein biosynthesis, knowing you are a temple. Now, I used to get this so bad. And now I know why. I'm pretty sure I have this. You know, these stress induced tRNA. You know, we don't have to go over everything right now. There's just a lot for one morning, I know. But I'm going to save that. We're going to, the what is familiar hypercholesterolemia? It's, and how do you deal with it through eating, lipid. I've got onto a whole different idea of how these things can be proven in the blood, what's going on. You saw earlier the picture of the boy in the hoop. He's wearing a dress. We need to find out what in the world was going on there. Why would you dress a boy in a dress? To play hoops. Games weren't invented. Toys, these were early toys, but in the 1800s, an illustration of a child playing with a toy with a whip. Keep that horse's neck up. You don't train them, you break that horse. And if they whip it good. It's a new toy. I think it's weird. I think it's worth studying. It's all going out of business now. Puzzle lock toys were the only toys before what they call the loosening of Satan time. And basically, it was the puzzle locks. It was trick locks. It was some ways to locks with extra obstacle. Locks, figure out puzzles. Keep your brain sharp, because padlocks were basically puzzles. Famous residents of the town plunge. We went over that when I was talking about the Jimmy Stewart. They plunged into the pool. They actually had a pool. I think they filmed that in Beverly Hills because they filmed those things in Hollywood. You know where I'm going. You know where I've been. They plunged into it. Operation Barbarossa. It's named after this town that has this flag. We'll get back into it. I'm not going to stay on 2 hours anymore. They're cleaning out Kensington Avenue. That's homeless in Philadelphia this morning.
Unfortunately, this is the only known historical description of Atlantis. So it's up to you to decide if it was
more
just
and more,
coincidental
so they're going to go back
technology
to
or magically expanding soil.
you can always,
systems.
like they say,
And why
Starfort theory from a year ago. Get some views.
It's beautifully.
Hi,
large
it's
star.
Shelly. I'm going to put it out. It's like brand new. Wake up. We're not the first. Get some views. 12,000 views one day ago. Basically by going, this is what I used to be doing, going like trying to make it a catchphrase of like, it's a star fort, baby.
Can be found in Palma Nova. You can see this one is very, very old and impacted by that. Can be found in Sydney, Australia. There's another one. And as you can already see, it looks very similar to what the buildings that I was just showing you of these countries. Some of them, yes, it's not surprising at all. This is Paraguay. To build these things, how did all this, and think about how this could possibly have been built.
So we remember when this was a homeschool channel, and now it's a like get out videos every couple of days that, make the money while you can. The Muncie language, that's where that creek is that is underwater, bubbling up fresh water, that's part of what's going on. And it is all going to be coming down to, where is your supply of fresh water going to be coming to if and when anything happens? Because whether or not it's geoengineering by the governments of the world attacking each other, it's God allowing that. It is God saying, this is what's going to happen. His judgment comes on the clouds. And there was extreme weather before HARP, and there will be afterwards. But this is not the end. This is not the rapture. This is the end of the United States as a world power. This is the end of the petrodollar, the fiat money. The rest of the world is ready for us to fall and then think, oh, we've got it made now that evil empire, the United States, who tricked us into thinking they were nice, but really weren't. This is going to go on for a while, around 2046, although, that's based on 9/11. Nobody knows if it's when they planned 9/11 or what is it implemented or but this is not the end. They'll probably have an election. It'll probably be faked. It'll probably have, dragged out news to where a week after this election in November, they'll say, this one didn't even really matter. It's the next election that you've got to get ready for. That and the next Super Bowl. Remember where you live, what you've learned so far about this flat earth nation with its golden age past, because the mud flood was Armageddon. This is only the beginning. It is a flat earth nation. That's why me and my friends are never going to tell you anything else. Amen. Aloha. You know what? I just draw a blank there because all of my brain cells have been used up. This finals week, they really put a lot of pressure on you. Amen. Adios. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.